Tonight we're doing data analysis on economic data. We're going to start with stocks. Let's look at our marketing technology stock portfolio and set this to average. Hey, Ashley. And let's go to let's go weekly data. Woof, all right. DS close. And make this colorful. Average. All right, so what we're looking at so far is a series of stocks. These are technology stocks: Adobe, Alibaba, Salesforce, eBay, and looking at the last 20 years to see how things have been going. See, it's interesting when you look at this, just how inflated the market got really since 2015. What happened in this period here was the Federal Reserve was pumping a crazy amount of money into the market overall, and as a result, it had nowhere else to go, so people just started pouring it into stocks, and this, of course, appears Google being Google. Let's restrict this to 2020 and see how this looks. All right, and let's go. Yep, we're at day level. So we started the year doing fine, and then if you look, everything starts to go off right around February 19th or 20th. So that's clearly when the market began to feel uncertainty about the current situation. And then, of course, the last couple of weeks, things have just not gone well. The stocks that definitely felt it the most, Google, well, it doesn't look like anybody has done like super well. Let's do percent difference over range. Man, look at that volatility. Just up and down, like crazy. Who's this? That was, I don't remember what company that is. NCMI. Let's look at, move this in. Let's look at the last month. Range of dates. Let's go. There we go, since February. Man. Generally speaking, it really is just up and down every single day. Let's move this to weekly. Just clean up some of the junk. Well, there's your answer about how the market's doing. Oracle, managing to eke out a minor victory there. Everything else, not doing so well. CCO. Geez, Outbrain. A lot of the content syndicators did. Lamar Outdoor Advertising, yeah, 33% down. Yelp, down 31%. Well, that's lovely. All right, let's move to broader economic data. This is one of my favorite data sources, the St. Louis Federal Reserve. If you are not familiar with it and you want to play with it, go to fred.stlouisfed.org, and you get up to more than 600,000 different data series. You can explore them within their interface. You don't need any fancy software to do this. You can just look at the data yourself, change the timelines, mess around with it to see what's going on. Let's go into our data set. And again, let's do our close number here. And we want to go to weekly level. Let's go to our average. And let's drop in our symbols. And because this is data all over the place, we need to make this logarithmic. Top series here, this is gross federal debt. This is the debt of the United States of America in, I think it's billions. It's $23 trillion. It is gigantic. It's enormous. And as a result, it distorts everything you look at. But you can see, let's restrict this to 2020 here. No, it hasn't been released yet for this year. Uh, Interestingly enough, there are a lot of series that are monthly, and so you see these gaps here, and then you see the more frequent series throughout here. There's the VIX. Now let's just start knocking stuff off. Railroad freight hasn't been updated since December. That's odd. Exclude that. All right. We have ICSA and IC4WSA. Go back to non-logarithmic. ICSA is initial jobless claims. So jobless claims are when people go to the unemployment office and file for unemployment. And we can see, let's go to day level. This shot up like crazy the last couple of weeks. Right, 208. So this was last week's jobless claims number, 281,000 new claims. The 4-week moving average moving up as well. So that's not good. This is one of the ones to keep an eye on because this tells you, in terms of the economy, what's happening. If this shoots up really fast, then you know there's a problem. If I'm going to take off, if I take this restrictor off here, let's exclude this whole series because federal debt's not super helpful. Okay, and what is this? Oh, this is air freight. How much freight gets moved by air? You'll notice there's the dot-com bubble recession. This is the Great Recession. Look how long this was. So from May of 2008 to May of 2010 is when basically air freight took 2 years off. And you can see we're already kind of at a top here. You can see these sort of head and shoulders kind of configurations. We're at a top here for air freight. So we were already not in great condition at the end of 2019. And obviously, 2020 is going to look not great either. Knock that one off. Railcar freight. Railcar freight never really recovered after the Great Recession. We were shipping a lot of stuff by rail. Great Recession. It kind of came back, but not really. And then got whacked in the knees in 2016 and is still down. So railcar freight, one to keep an eye on too. That one's going to take a hit because, again, consumers not buying stuff. Here's our jobless claims. In the grand scheme of things so far, we're not nearly close to the Great Recession, right? This is at the peak of the Great Recession, 665,000 claims. 281,000 claims here. So we're not in deep stuff yet. We're going to keep an eye on this one because this one is, if this shoots up spectacularly with all the layoffs happening because of the pandemic, it could dwarf this. And you can see from really about here, this is where Bear Stearns collapsed in 2007. We didn't get back to that level until 7 years later. So it took 7 years to get the job market to recover. That's a really big system shock. And so we got to keep an eye on what's going on with the economy, and jobless claims is a great way to do it. Let's knock those off so we can keep going down the chart. This is petroleum, amount of oil being moved through pipelines. That's interesting here. This one is just been steadily climbing as the United States has become an exporter of petroleum products. So we're contributing to global warming, but making a lot of money doing it by shipping oil out of the country. And it's, again, there's been a massive oil crash, so we'll see how that goes. Exclude that. All right, what do we got here? This is, what is Pay EMS? I should know this. Pay EMS, all employees, total non-farm. And this one should be total non-farm private payroll. Again, Great Recession. You have 138 million people employed. And it didn't get back to there for 6 years. So when we see a payroll hit, companies are very slow to rehire. And that means that for B2C companies, you have a large swath of the population that cannot make money. And then for B2B companies, of course, we have the issue that we then have much less budget to work with because people are not spending money. This is real median household income. We are above $60,000 median household income in the U.S. 2007, didn't get back until 2015, and we were doing great. I don't know what happened to that series that it got truncated there. Let's see what see if the web interface has better data here. Yeah, it does. It truncates to 2018. I wonder what happened there. Huh. I wonder why the series is not updating. This is not a good thing. If the government is failing to report that data for some reason, it means they don't want us looking at something. Yeah. File that away to something we'll look at later. Exclude. Here we have per capita household income. This is up to date-ish. So per capita, which means per individual household income, $46,000 a year. Didn't see a hit in the Great Recession, but we did see it kind of just stay static and then start climbing back up. All right, so A22, exclude that. Let's see what's next. Dow Jones, yeah, well, unwinding that. GDP, gross domestic product. I didn't know this actually. GDP refers to things made within your borders, where GNP, gross national product, is things made by your citizens, no matter where they live. GDP, there's a Great Recession, and then that recovered fairly quickly. That took 3 years to get back in action. GDP and GDP C1 is real GDP, or inflation adjusted. So it took 3 years to get GDP restored. We have NASDAQ. We all know that went, all the markets took a bath this week. Job. Okay, this is JTS, JOLTS, job openings. The number of job openings over time. There's the Great Recession. Job openings took 7 years to get back to where they're supposed to be going. Hiring. So Great Recession. Hiring, 8 years to get back. We have turnovers. The S&P. All right, so let's get rid of the JOLTS data. Now we've gone through that. 7 and 8 years of time there. S&P 500, we know what happened there. Hey Joshua, glad the information has been useful. We have price of gold. So price of gold was big during the Great Recession. There was a point in time where you probably could have redeemed gold for thousands of dollars. Great Recession occurs there. You can see gold shoots up. Gold came back down, but it never came back down after the Great Recession, right? So it is been high since then, and still remains a pretty solid safe haven. Take that out. We have CPI. So to wrap up, when we look at all these different data series, when we're doing this kind of research, and you see the Great Recession, stuff like that, and you're looking at all these different economic indicators, the thing that we have to take a look at when we're trying to figure out what's going to happen next for the economy as we have this pandemic is not just the shock to the system itself, but how long it's going to take the system to recover. The last system shock we had, the shortest interval of recovery was 3 years. That was for GDP. The longest intervals, 7, 8 years for jobs and hiring and household incomes to get back to where they're supposed to be. So when we look out over what's potentially could happen without large-scale stimulus and just helicopter money, could be looking at an economic recovery of up to 8 years. Right. So for your business planning, to the extent that you're doing planning to try and model what's likely to happen. If you're on the front end of things where there's industrial production stuff, let's see. This is, for example, this is rent of a primary residence that shot right back up after the Great Recession. Those industries will probably be a little safer. So if you're a B2B marketer, you'll want to look at those industries that can recover quickly, looking at economic indicators for your client base, figuring out what sectors they're in, and then what indicators to look back on and say, okay, rent came back in 3 to 4 years, no trouble there. But if you're reliant on the consumer and household income, you might find that it's not going to be as easy to get things back in the game. So keep that in mind. That's how I use this information. It's cool to have the indicators, and some of them can be forecasted. A lot of them can't because they're unpredictable, but use them to judge how long you're going to have an up or down economy for your sector, and then plan accordingly. You may need, if you work like an agency or something, you may want to change where you invest your time, where your company, what kinds of companies you go after as clients, and focus on those sectors that show recovery the fastest. Again, with the Federal Reserve, with this economic research data, you can find pretty much any industry. So you could look at healthcare, supplies and stuff, and look at all the different indices that you can look at for your sector, and figure out where the recovery is going to be fastest. And then where it's going to be slowest. So use the economic data. It's there. It's free. I'm doing it in Tableau, but obviously you saw the Fred stuff here is all, you can do it right in the web interface. No need to have expensive software to do it. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. I hope you dig in and find your industry, your clients as well. And also look for the counter-cyclical stuff. So I have one friend who does things like resume writing and LinkedIn profile stuff for job seekers. That person's about to be real busy, real busy, with up to an 11% unemployment rate. So what are the counter-cyclicals that will benefit? Again, not good or bad. Well, I mean, generally we want people to be doing better and happier and healthier, but what's going to do well in a down economy? Go back, do your research, look at this time period. All of the Fred charts mark recessions with these gray bars, so you can compare and contrast and figure out what's going to do well, what's not going to do well. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you who tuned in for what's quite possibly the least exciting live stream of Saturday night, I encourage you to go see some popular musicians and or see Lin-Manuel Miranda and Andrew Lloyd Wright battling each other off on music. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Want help solving your company's data analytics and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.